Thank you, Madam Speaker, and it's certainly an honor and pleasure to follow my dear friend from Iowa, with whom I got to share a little time last weekend and be out in God's nature and just enjoy the best Iowa has to offer. And Steve King is one of those best things. Well, we have heard a great deal about the New York terrorist, although I believe the governor, Cuomo, told us, there were no terrorist ties initially before he had any time to know anything, really. But that seems to be kind of the way most mayors, where these terrorist attacks occurs, respond. They immediately declare this is not terrorists, no terrorist ties, and then lo and behold, we find out eventually there certainly are. One of the problems that has been created during the last 8 years and a little bit during the last part of the Bush administration, the development discussion of countering violent extremism, but I do want to touch on something about the diversity visa lottery program. My first year in Congress in 2005, we eliminated the diversity visa lottery program, and at least voted in the House to eliminate it, but the Senate would not take it up. Wouldn't take it up. We had Republican majority in the House and Senate, and the Senate wouldn't take it up. Then, in November of 2006, we lost the majority in both houses, and of course the Democratic majority in both houses loved the diversity visa lottery program. In fact, have a floor speech from Senator Chuck Schumer where he extols the virtues of the diversity visa lottery program. And there's some highlights. Senator Schumer said, this is May 24th, 2006, as a member of the House, I helped create this program, which my colleague Senator Kennedy created in the Senate in 1990. He said, in fact, my city of New York has dramatically benefited from this program, and diverse countries such as Poland, Ireland, and Nigeria have had large numbers of immigrants come, or to be able to come, set roots, and help diversity of New York and of America. And so this is an excellent program. Nobody has said it has done a bad job. Those were his comments in 2006. Well, I'm here to say it has done a bad job. So now, nobody can say that nobody has said it has done a bad job, because I'm saying it has done a bad job. No matter how noble the original idea was, you should never trust the country's security to a lottery. That is insanity. Of course, the speech back in 2006, then Congressman Schumer, now Senator Schumer, said, I think, or actually he was a senator in 2006, but Senator Schumer said, I think America should admit many more of those people, but not at the expense of the small, successful program that guarantees other countries, such as Ireland's, Poland's, Nigeria's, that are unable to have immigrants come in for family reasons, can get to come into this country. Senator Schumer also said about the diversity visa lottery program, one of the great things about America is, again, we allow people from all over the world to come here. So I plead with my colleagues, keep the diversity visa program. He said, as I ride my bike around New York City on the weekends, I see what immigrants do for America. This program has dramatically helped. Neighborhoods such as Woodlawn and Greenpoint have been revitalized by new Irish and Polish immigrants. Neighborhoods such as East Flatbush and Harlem have been revitalized by West African immigrants. We don't have to stop this program. Well, again, it's insanity to trust a national security to a lottery. And that's what the Diversity Visa Lottery Program does. We've had terrorists, and we've known it for a number of years. We've had terrorists that have been getting their names into the lottery so that hopefully they would win the lottery and get to come to America to kill Americans. And I understand that there was a stepped-up effort in the last couple of years to make people a little better. But the trouble is, as then Director of the FBI, Comey, testified before our Judiciary Committee, we've got nothing to vet these people against. So many of them from Syria, from Yemen. You know, he said in Iraq, we had all of the government records. And it turns out, even with all the government records, they let in 2 terrorists. We had fingerprints of theirs on IEDs that killed Americans. And they let them in and eventually realized they'd made a mistake. So they said, we're going to step up our vetting after they realized they had admitted known terrorists into the United States that created IEDs to kill and maim Americans. But they could say we were stepping up the vetting program, but when there is no information, this is what Comey said, with Iraq, we had the government records, we had fingerprints, we took fingerprints off IEDs. Syria, Yemen, we got nothing. The government there doesn't give us their records. We have nothing to work from. And in Syria for a while, ISIS had taken over one of the printing facilities where they could print the passport. So we had no information to work from. We didn't know what was true and what wasn't. So once again, we were trusting our national security and the lives of Americans to a fatal game of Russian roulette, but it was from the Middle East. It was from Uzbekistan. It was from places where people have been radicalized, and I've got the numbers here. In fact, let's see, Diversity Visa Program from Statistic. As I understand, the New York terrorist, the ISIS supporter, killed eight people, wounded so many others. We have 5,000 in 2011. We have 5,091 from Uzbekistan. There were none from Poland, and in the top 10, there are certainly none from Ireland. We had, in 2012, 4,800 from Uzbekistan, and even better news, we had 4,453 from Iran. And for those that are not keeping track, Iranian government has not given us information that we can count on about people in Iran who want to come to America. And we know Iran is the largest national supporter of terrorism in the world. So we don't know. We don't have much of anything to vet these people on. But, you know, Senator Schumer says it's a great program. Nobody said anything against it. He rides his bicycle around. Well, fortunately, he wasn't riding his bicycle around in front of the terrorist that was allowed in on the program he thinks was so grand. And frankly, I'm grateful he was not on his bicycle in front of that terrorist killer that his program let in. 2013, Uzbekistan, we had 5,101 come in from Uzbekistan. Again, Poland, Poland, we did have 2,038 come from Poland that year. 2014, another 6,027 that we could not adequately vet coming from Iran. Some of them we could. with relatives, but many of those people simply could not be vetted. We don't know if they were sent here by the Iranian government to kill Americans or not. 2015, we have another 4,992 from Iran. Uzbekistan, we had another 4,368. So we don't have the numbers from 2016 yet, unfortunately, but hopefully that gives some idea of what we're dealing with. But we also need to understand that when government officials tell us, you know, we had no indication this guy was a terrorist, and there were even people from the government that were saying, gee, you know, the feds, this was not a known person, this New York terrorist, not a known person to the federal authorities. Well, it turns out 2015, they interviewed him. He had terrorist ties. But the thing people need to understand was that, and I've been saying this for years, I've grilled Director Mueller on this issue. Contacted by one media outlet that says, you know, why are you just bringing this up now about the purge of training materials? My goodness, I've been talking about this for years. I've been made fun of about this for years. But I've been right about it for years. Shel Bachman and I, it should not have been classified, what they took out of the FBI materials, but they classified it so we couldn't show America how stupid some of their purging was, how senseless, how we were, as some of our agents told me, we are blind ourselves of the ability to see our enemy. So when I grilled Mueller some years ago over the fact that they got a heads up twice that the older Sarnia brother was radicalized. He was a terrorist. He was a threat to American lives. They didn't do anything. CIA, they didn't do anything. FBI finally sent some agents out. They interviewed the older Sarniev, but they didn't know what to ask. They don't know what the signs are of someone who is radicalized because they have had beat down their throats for so long, and this was the Obama administration. They had the FBI's guiding principles, the touchstone document on training. And this was the document that the FBI used to say, oh, no, we got to be politically correct. We can't teach people about how to find and spot a radical Islamist. So there was a purge of FBI training materials. There is a fantastic Judicial Watch special report. It can be found on their website, dated December 5th of 2013. U.S. government purges of law enforcement training material deemed offensive to Muslims. And who is complaining? Well, the Council on American Islamic Relations, the Islamic Society of North America, and they just happen to have known contacts who were named as co-conspirators supporting terrorism in the Holy Land Foundation prosecution. And what did Mueller's FBI do under Mueller's specific direction? They created an outreach program. They called them their community outreach partner for these people who judges said, no, there's plenty of evidence to show that these people have ties supporting terrorism. No, we're not going to eliminate their names. The Dallas Federal Court said that. The Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals in New Orleans said that. It didn't make it to the Supreme Court. But two courts said, yeah, there's plenty of evidence to see. There's plenty of ties here, evidence of their ties to known terrorists. So it wasn't until 2008, after years of having this evidence, that Director Mueller decided, you know what? He sent a very kind of apologetic letter to CARE, Council on American Islamic Relations, saying, you know, we better suspend our community partnership for a while. But it's just unbelievable. But it was the political correctness during the Obama administration that has gotten people killed because they purged our training material. And God bless Kim Jensen, FBI agent. He had prepared 700-page training materials that Mueller ordered destroyed. Somebody needed to study that material before they went out and talked to Tsarnaev. And if they had, they would have recognized this guy has probably radicalized, and we better be on the alert. And they could have saved lives at the Boston Marathon if Mueller had not prevented them from knowing how to do their job. And he's special counsel. Whoop-de-doo. And why, by the way, why, Madam Speaker, do you think that former director of the FBI that blinded the FBI of their ability to see terrorists, why do we think he came out with the indictments exactly when he did? Well, I can tell you why. Because he's as easy to read as anybody in the world. He came out with those indictments when he did because he had people starting to call for his resignation, starting to demand that he be removed, demanding that he recuse himself. And even the Wall Street Journal, that's been very sympathetic, they pointed out it was time for him to go. And what does he do? Immediately comes out with indictments to show, no, you can't demand that I go. I'm too relevant. And you look at those indictments, if those, and I'm for punishing anybody who's committed a crime, but there was no need for a special counsel to come up with what he did. The FBI could have done that. The Department of Justice could have done that. We didn't need Mueller and 20 lawyers, all of these Hillary Clinton sycophants in there to come up with this. The DOJ could have done this. It was just a ridiculous couple of indictments to be spending all these millions of dollars for. But we also know that same kind of conduct occurred when Comey came to the Hill and testified there is no trace of evidence of collusion between President Trump and the Russians. Well, Mueller had to be puckering up because he knew, now there's testimony from the FBI director that there's no basis for me to be special counsel and to have hired all these people. Wow. So the president could be in line to fire me because now we have testimony from FBI directors, no basis for this investigation, shut her down. And so that night they leak out. He's investigating President Trump for obstruction of justice. Excuse me. We all know what that so-called evidence was, and they'll never, ever get a conviction because it was not obstruction of justice. Obstruction of justice is when you do what Comey and Loretta Lynch did to prevent a proper investigation, and you make an agreement with potential defendants that if they'll just give you their laptops and let you look at them, you will destroy all that you find, and you will never use any of that information to prosecute them. Then you give them immunity from prosecution. That's not how you do if you're going to prosecute a case. No. You get them in a bind, and then you tell them, here's the charges you're looking at unless you come clean and identify the person above you with whom you were working and what they did. And then you work up the chain to the big fish, which is how organized criminal organizations have been prosecuted over the years. And it would work in this, but Director Comey was so busy figuring out how to explain how Hillary Clinton should not be prosecuted, though the evidence was basically for a slam dunk case of conviction, that he overlooked properly pursuing the case. We don't need Director Mueller. We need him gone, and we need a special prosecutor to get into this, because clearly, since Jeff Sessions recused himself on anything involving Hillary Clinton and Russia, then, and we can't have Rod Rosenstein, for heaven's sake. Now we know in this special counsel situation because they both were engaged in the cover-up of the initial Russian investigation that revealed Russia was trying to corner the market on uranium, and they had to seal that, because if they hadn't sealed that and covered up that evidence then in that investigation, then Hillary Clinton would not have been able to hit the Russian Mega Millions lottery by authorizing the sale of uranium to Uranium-1 that ends up in Russian hands. And Bill Clinton wouldn't have gotten $500,000. He didn't hit the Mega Millions except for the 145 or so that went into the Clinton Foundation. But Mueller cannot possibly investigate this. He's in it up to his eyeballs, and so is Rosenstein. They both ought to do the decent thing. I know it's not characteristic, but they ought to do the decent thing and resign and let somebody that is not completely submerged in the original cover-up investigate this whole matter. And with that, I yield back.
The gentleman yields back. The chair would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move we do now hereby adjourn.
The question is on the motion to adjourn. Those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion is adopted. Accordingly, the House stands adjourned until noon on Monday next for morning hour debate.
The House today passed a bill to extend the Children's Health Insurance Program, CHIP, for 5 years. It also continues community health centers and other health programs for more Medicaid funds for Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands. Next week, lawmakers will debate hydropower policy and business regulations. Watch live coverage here on C-SPAN when they return. And on Monday, the House Ways and Means Committee begins what's expected to be several days of committee markup on the Republican tax reform bill. Follow live coverage Monday beginning at noon Eastern on C-SPAN 2. Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin talked about the House Republican tax reform plan. He was attending the International Franchise Association Expo in Los Angeles.